Alrighty, so today we are going to finish up the review for match week number 32. We got five more games to talk about as part of part number two of this review. And just like what I said in part number one, this was definitely a great week if you were the road team, because for these final five games, pretty much the only team that was able to win at home was this game. Pretty much everybody else were able to at least get a draw, and that we also saw three teams that were able to get a win on the road as well. But with that being said, let us begin by talking about the first game. And besides the fact that there were definitely some teams that were able to win on the road, there were definitely some big surprises and resort that I don't think anyone saw coming. And this is definitely the game that I don't think anyone saw coming, with Nashville losing to Atlanta United, and especially Atlanta coming into this game. They are the last team to not win a single road game this season, and I would have not expected Nashville was going to be that team that they would get their first road win. Especially this was a game where it's a classic example of the fact that the better team in this game end up on the losing side, mainly because they just couldn't show their clinical finishing, and that the Atlanta goalkeeper Jaden Hebert, I gotta say, I think he's definitely have a bright future with this Atlanta team, and maybe this is definitely great news if you're a Five Strike fan, knowing that Brad Guzan probably doesn't have a lot of year left. That you see this young goalkeeper, this young phenom, definitely holding the fort down in this one, and turns out to have just an absolute career night in this one to secure the 1-0 win. Now, in the first half, in the 13th minute, Maranchuk puts it wide from long range. Early on, Atlanta, I thought it was the better team. The shots were 2-0 early in this game. The first shot for Nashville did see Mukhtar puts it high from long range, but then the 24th minute on the third shot for Atlanta, it's Ronald Hernandez. He scored from Azadi to make it 1-0 in favor of Atlanta. Lovely delivery there from Azadi, and Hernandez was in the right place, right time to hit that one in on the set piece. So yeah, Atlanta with a surprising 1-0 lead heading into the latter part of the first half. In the 30th minute, Mukhtar would look to respond, but he hits it right to Hibber before Brugman would have a shot that was deflected and goes wide. Unsurprisingly, it was a good response for Nashville as they were looking to try to get the equalizer, and they thought they got it in the 43rd minute when Sam Surridge put the ball into the back net. Problem was, they did go to VAR to see whether or not when Surridge basically put that one in, did it actually hit it off of his hand and goes into the back of net. And again, anytime when you are the attacker and you of course score a goal, if the ball does hit your hand, whether if your hand is in a natural or unnatural position, that's always going to be called a handball. And this in this sequence, yeah, Surridge's hand, even though it wasn't in a natural position, you can clearly see that it kind of hits off of his hand and it kind of bounced in. It definitely had a big effect in terms of this ball going into the back of the net. So in the end, they got it right. The goal was chopped off. But in the fourth minute of stoppage time, Zimmerman would try to get the equalizer, but he hits it wide from the corner before Mukhtar would hit it right to Heber as Nashville was pounding on the door for this equalizer. Atlanta, you can clearly see they were holding on to try to get this to halftime. In fact, for the rest of the game, they were pretty much holding on for dear life, and almost at times just kind of parking the bus and going full row heat mode. Willis with then hits one right to Heber. Oh, actually, that is completely incorrect there. Let me just quickly search up on the website here, because there's no way Willis, the goalkeeper, did that one. And actually, now I search on the website, it actually was Surge, the one that hits it right to Heber there. So a little bit of a mistake on my part. This is what happened when you decide to write the board relatively quick. But we do head to halftime with Atlanta leading 1-0 in the second half. It was pretty much the same. Nashville continued to press to get the equalizer. Surge was in on goal there, but he struck the post in the 50th minute. Yeah, that is one that Surge would want to have back, especially of how good he's been this season. Definitely going to have a golden boot race battle with Messi down the stretch. That is definitely one that he would want to have back. Azade would then hit it right to Willis in the 55th minute. I think both of these teams were having turnover early in the second half, because both of those chances all came because of bad turnovers. Heber would then deny Mukhtar from close before he denied Mukhtar in the back post in the 66th minute. Surridge would then miss wide from close as Nashville once again was pounding on the door. They were pressing hard to try to get this equalizer, whereas Atlanta continued to be in road heat mode. Zimmerman would then put it wide or puts it right to Hebert, that is, and then Surge also hits one right to Hebert, and like I said, Jaden Hebert, he was having the game of his life. I mean, he was just standing on his heads here, refused to be in this one. Willis would then deny Lobjanidze from close, as with a rare chance for Atlanta United, but then on the other end, Hebert would deny Boy from close range in the 77th minute. Zierman would then head it wide from the corner. Again, Atlanta, they were just holding on for dear life, and they've been pretty much holding for dear life ever since they scored the opening goal. And many would say that, yeah, you just kind of feel like it's inevitable that Nashville was going to get that equalizer, right? Well, Lovitz tried to do so, but he puts it over from long range, and then Bunbury would puts it wide from the corner in the 90th minute. And this is kind of when you started to realize maybe this is just not going to be Nashville night. I mean, this might be just one of those games where Nashville just aren't able to find the back end, and it does happen to the best of the team. And also, I just realized that my laptop is about to run out of battery, so I better make sure I charge it before it does. Actually, let me just kind of pause. Well, actually, I don't need to pause. I just found my charger here, so let me just plug this in before this this laptop just goes out of battery. Don't want to have video cut short in the middle just because it ran out of battery. So yeah, there we go. Yep, now it is charged. So let's go back to what we were saying. The fact that it just maybe feels like it's one of those nights where Nashville just they cannot buy a goal. We see this before, even to the best of the team. No matter what kind of chances that you put, there's just no way you can put the ball into the back net because of lack of clinical finishing. But for one good measure in the fifth minute stoppage time, Surge tried to score late for Nashville, but he hits it right to Hebert. And yeah, in the end, I don't know how, but Atlanta United survive in this one. They get the 1-0 win in this one. The shots in this one, 21 shots compared to 9 that Atlanta had. 7 shots on goal compared to 4 that Atlanta has. 8 shots off target compared to the 3 that Atlanta has. 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Atlanta has. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Atlanta has in this game. And again, Nashville, they did everything right in this one. They were by far the better team in this one. And really, on any other day, if they were going to do a redo, I think Nashville probably would have win this one easily. But like I said, it's just one of those nights where we see this happen before, where even the best of the team, just for whatever reason, they just don't have their shooting boot. And I guess if you're in Nashville, the only good news coming out of this one is at least it happened in this game and not in the playoffs. I mean, imagine if that happens in the playoffs where you just have an off night in terms of finishing. That could definitely cost your season. But nevertheless, it doesn't help their cases in terms of trying to get themselves higher up in the standings and are still in the thick of the supporter shield race. But for Atlanta United, hey, I mean, I know they hang on for dear life, and it was almost a miracle that they were able to finally score their first road win of the season. But hey, they'll use that as a way to build of what has just been a disastrous season for them, and they're gonna also continue to play the spoiler role as well. Again, as we said before this season, as bad as some of the teams in the Eastern Conference is, some of these teams have acted as good spoiler role, and it feels like Atlanta is definitely going to try to do so down the stretch, especially for teams that are fighting for some seedings and home field advantage, and also fighting for playoff position out of the Eastern Conference as well. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Minnesota and the Portland Timbers. So, Minnesota, they were the third team to clinch a playoff spot. I said that they was the second team to do so before, but that's actually not true because Philly was able to get that big win, and they were actually now the second team to clinch themselves in the playoff spot. But Minnesota, for good measure, they were the third team to do so, though it didn't look like it was going to happen in this one, especially with the way that the Timbers had a lead late in this one, and the fact that this just kind of feels like it's one of those nights for the Loons where this is a little bit concerning. The fact that they once again are struggling at home, especially these last couple of games, they have not done well at home whatsoever. But hey, in the end, they did get the result, and they got help from other teams as well to clinch themselves in the playoff position, and not to mention the goal that, of course, virtually clinched their playoff position, which is the top line goal, one of the best goal I've seen Minnesota score in years. But in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Dane Sinclair deny Rojas from close before Cabaggio puts it wide from close range. I thought the Timbers were on the front foot. The Loons, they definitely did not start on time in this game at all. in this one, and that's got to be frustrating because I'm pretty sure the players realize that not only this is a big game for them, but there's a chance where they can clinch a playoff spot with a win, and you would have thought that that would motivate this team, not get off to a slow start like this one. But in the 23rd minute, Marcanic would hit it wide from the corner before Rojas hits it right to Dane Sinclair, and then he denied Rojas on the free kick in the 34th minute as Portland continued to create some good opportunity. The Loons, again, they were having problem in terms of spring the transitional moment. I understand in terms of what they're trying to do every single game, which is, they're not gonna want to have the ball and they're gonna rely on transition, but they were really struggling to do so in this one. Now, is that big part of that? Maybe it's because of a certain player that is now joining at Villarreal that is no longer on this team, and the fact that there's got to be a lot of concern, I got to say, with Calvin Yoboa in terms of the way that it feels like every time when the ball does go to him in the transition, he just kills the transition. Like his poor first touch just absolutely kills the transition every single time with this team, and that yeah, I think that kind of plays the factor where Minnesota just their transition game, which has been on point for most of the time this season, just completely fall off in this one, and the Timbers do a good job in terms of dealing with it, and not to mention they're getting sneaking in their deep block as well. In the 38th minute, Pentemis then denied Rosales from close, but we do head to halftime with the scoreless between both of these teams. By the way, the save by Pentemis, that was probably the best chance that Minnesota has, and it took 38 minutes to generate a one real opportunity. When we go to the second half, in the second half, Agiello would puts it high from long range before Pantemis would deny Pereira, but then it falls to Lud, and somehow, in some way, his shot was denied by Pantemis there, and they actually saved this one off the post. But yeah, that sequence kind of all started because the Timbers they turned the ball over in a bad spot, and yeah, they were very lucky the fact that they got away with that one because in many ways that probably should have been 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. Especially I don't know which one kind of frustrates me more. The Pereira one where he was kind of 1v1. I think he took it a little bit too casual. But also the second attempt as well, where Lud basically had an empty net, and somehow in some way with just some cat-like reflexes there, Pentem has absolutely robbed him there in the back post. Valde would then hits it into the side netting in the 49th minute. We then go for a pair where not much really happened, and a big part of that is because the Timbers they were having a tough time in terms of breaking down Minnesota, and Minnesota was having a tough time in terms of getting some transitional moment. This is a game coming into this one. It was very fascinating to see which is going to be the team that unfortunately will have to suffer the problem that they have when it comes to the style that they play because both of these teams play pretty much the same style. The Timbers love to go on the counterattack. They play almost the same style as Minnesota do, especially when they're playing on the road. And in this one, I mean, I'm pretty sure Minnesota realized that and then say, well, we're gonna force you to be so they play that style. And unsurprisingly, the Timbers weren't having really a lot of success in terms of breaking down a low of this Minnesota low block. I mean, to be fair, not many teams have been having success in terms of trying to break down this Minnesota low block, but with the Timbers kind of struggle in terms of that, it was definitely all to see. And again, the Loons they really haven't capitalized that because they just aren't able to spring a lot of transitional attack like they usually do under the system that Ramsey run throughout this entire season. Pantemis would then deny Lud from close before Valde would put it right to Dane Sinclair after the Loons turned the ball over in a bad spot. But I also kind of thought that the game started to become a little up for grabs. It started to kind of open up a little bit, and I can't tell who will be the more happier side if this game is open up. I mean, on one hand, you would say the Timbers will be happy because they'd like to have a game that's open up. But then on the other hand, that could be good for Minnesota as well because that's where the space finally comes from the transitional moment. So it was kind of like now it looks like the game is up for grabs. Both of these teams were pressing hard to try to get the opener. Anthony was in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Dane Sinclair. Yeah, that is one that Anthony would want to have back. I mean, Dane Sinclair makes a great save here. He's definitely one of the better 1v1 goalkeeper in this league, but that is one that Anthony would want to have back. And again, the Loons they're continue to getting beat in their own game again. They just cannot defend the Timber transition. So I think in some way you could say that this kind of favored the Portland Timbers with the way that they won't mind if this game started to become a bit of a track meet. But in the 79th minute, the Timbers finally break through, and it wasn't actually a player that got themselves the breakthrough. It was actually an unfortunate own goal from Romero, and just very unfortunate situation here. Dane Sinclair actually made a great save here to deny Anthony, but unfortunately Romero, he was just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time in terms of just putting it into his own end. He knew nothing about that. He also tried to backheel it to try to save it off the line, but just couldn't quite do so. But also that moment all started because of a bad turnover from Minnesota. Again, in a game like this, especially with the Timbers being lethal in the transition, the last thing you need to do is turn the ball over in your in your own area, and the Loons did that. They did it earlier in the game. They got away with one. But yeah, second time they did it, and they definitely did not get away with it. So the Timbers were leading 1-0. Harvey did look to answer, but he was denied by Pentemis. But then the 85th minute, Robin Lod would score. He scored from trap to tie the game up at one apiece. This goal I definitely did not see coming. I mean, so far this season, it is not very often that Minnesota has been able to go down 1-0 or even 2-0 at home and somehow able to salvage something. And a big part of that is because this team has been spent most of their time leading the game. It's very rare that this season this team has fell behind. But yeah, in this one they responded relatively well. And again, the thing that I didn't see coming besides that is the fact that the combination of this, I mean, I did not see this coming with Trap just putting a Kevin De Bruyne esque kind of world class over the top ball. And then what I also did not expect was Robin Lod pretty much put a world class first touch to bring this one down and puts it into to the back of the net. I mean, that was just a sublime goal by Minnesota. Probably the best work goal that Minnesota have scored this season, especially from the direct ball there. But nevertheless, that ties the game up at one apiece, and that was pretty much it. I mean, for the remaining of the game, I feel like both of these teams was kind of happy to settle with a point, and that's exactly what happened in this one as it ends in a 1-1 draw. The shots in this one, 10 shots for the 18 that the Timbers had. Both teams had 6 shots on goal, 2 shots off target for the 4 that the Timbers had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 7 that the Timbers had, and possession-wise, 44% possession compared to 56% possession Portland Timbers has in this one. And like I said, I think both of these teams will definitely settle for a draw in this one. With the way how this game played out, I think a draw is a fair resort for both of these teams. But yeah, for Minnesota, yes, I know they clinch a playoff spot, and it's great that they did it in such a style of a goal that they scored that pretty much virtually clinched themselves in the playoffs. But my concern in terms of this team's dropping points at home is once again happened again. I mean, this is a team that they haven't really played well at home, at least in the last couple of games. Now, maybe a big part of that is because the new signing hasn't been integrated, and hopefully once the new signing does integrate it, I mean, we did see one signing got integrated in this one with Momo DM coming into this one. I think he was very good in this one. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a shade of a guy that we just sold to Veory out just like a couple of days ago. But yeah, once those new signing does integrate it and they can integrate it relatively fast, I will have a little bit more optimism with this team. I think the chances for Minnesota to go deep in this playoffs all depends in terms of some of these new signings and inject some life in this team because you can kind of start to see that things are kind of started to get a little stale with still some of these old group of player and again losing your best player in Taniolo Shai as much as it has to be done because of the business end and the amount that Minnesota, of course, got. It really hurt this team when it comes to transition. They just don't look as dangerous on transition without him on the pitch compared to when he is on the pitch for this team. Now, moving on into the last game on this board is Sporting KC and the Colorado Rapids. So, as I mentioned with the Colorado Rapids, it's been a very frustrating season if you're a Rapids fan because you just never know what kind of Rapids team will show up. They've been one of the most inconsistent teams this season. You always have one game where the Rapids look like a playoff contender and maybe could be a dark horse, and then you have one game where they just look like a wooden spoon team. They look like the worst team in the Western Conference. And what's kind of crazy about this game is that the Rapids kind of did both in this one. They shown at times that they were a dark horse in the contender, and then they showed why they at times they look like the worst team in the West because man, what a meltdown this was from the Colorado Rapids late in this one. And in many ways, they kind of did the rogue Mo in this one, trying to bunker and hold on to the win. And how many times when you try to do that, and especially when you let your opponent with just unrelentless pressure, it's going to take a toll more times or not. And no surprise that, of course, was the case in this one. Now, early on, though, to be fair, the Rapids didn't get off to a good start because just 4 minutes into this game, Jovic would score from Shelton and Libo to make it 1-0 in favor of Sporting KC. It was also the first shot for Sporting KC as well. So, not great moment there for the Rapids to concede a goal straight away. Santos did look to respond, but he was denied by the post before Aronson actually goes beast mode here and rounds the keeper, but somehow in some way it was clear off the line by James there. But there was no doubt the Rapids has responded well. And again, they've shown this before where they might face some adversity on their good days and able to come from behind, and now they were pressing for the equalizer, and they got a chance to do so. As a penalty was given to the Rapids after Basson brought down Aronson in the box. Get used to seeing this with Paxton Aronson. He is definitely a very electric player, and I think even though I know he hasn't gotten an assist or a goal so far, you can definitely see what he brings to the table, and I think Rapids fans are going to be very excited about him for these next couple of years. But here comes Navarro, a chance to tie the game up for the Rapids. Postgame says no. I mean, as I said before, it feels like the torch not only has officially passed from Tim Millian to John Postgame, but it feels like John Postgame this season has definitely feed off all the energy that Tim Millian once was for this team, because nowadays we're seeing John Postgame basically do things that Tim Millian has done, being a great shot stopper and also a great penalty kick stopper as well. Because here he denied Navarro not only from the spot, but then he was able to rob him on the second attempt. I mean, so many times where we see goalkeeper maybe make the first save, and on the rebound, maybe the penalty kick taker has a chance to pick up the scrap and puts it in, but not this time. I mean, Navarro did had a second chance there, but Postgame was in the right place, right time to deny him there. But the good news for Navarro and for the Colorado Rapids, he does get on the score sheet just 5 minutes later, as he scored here from Bassett and Santos to tie the game up at one apiece. I mean, wrote redemption goal, because yeah, it must be not a great moment for him to miss that penalty. But again, this is a team that again have shown that mentality that they're not gonna just get down in a game. They're going to fight back and look to try to get themselves the equalizer, and they did exactly that. Jovic did look to respond, but he hits it right to Stefan before Libo would miss wide from close range, and I thought it was a good response again for Sporting KC to try to get the lead back. However, in the 31st minute, Colorado takes the lead. It's Rosenberry. He scored from Navarro and Santos to make it 2-1 in favor of the Rapids. It was getting a little against the run of play because I thought Sporting KC was starting to build some momentum. Speaking of momentum, Sporting KC definitely built some momentum after giving up that lead, because it started off with Stefan denying Suleimanov from close, and then he denied Showery, but it fell to Suleimanov, who just missed an empty net in the back post. Yeah, that is one that Shapi Suleimanov would want to have back. You usually see him read that one, but there was no doubt that Sporting KC, they were not rattled whatsoever with them giving up the lead. They were now pressing hard to try to get the equalizer. Though before I said that, post game would deny Yappy from the header before he denied Cobb in close in the 41st minute. Cobb would then head it wide from the corner, and just like that, the momentum was back with the Rapids. I mean, the momentum was definitely swinging left and right. It was a pretty crazy first half in this one, and overall, it was a very entertaining game between both of these teams. We do head to halftime with Colorado leading 2-1, but in the second half, this is when Ford and Casey really ramped up the pressure. It started with Stefan denying Basson as he was able to save this one off the line before he denied Muniz from close in the 57 minutes. Sporting was pressing again to try to get the equalizer, but the question is, can they stall Zach Steffen? Because it feels like, is this one of those games where Zach Steffen can steal one for the Rapids? We've seen it before this season. He's been able to steal a couple of games with some great save and kind of turn back the clock of why he is considered to be once a U.S. men's national team number one, and maybe could still be in that conversation by the time when we see the World Cup next year. In the 64th minute, Jovic would then head it wide from close before he had a header that was clear off the line by Harris. I mean, it was just unrelentless pressure. You just kind of had a sense that with all this pressure, it feels like it's inevitable they will get the equalizer. But then, that being said, we said the same thing about Nashville, and unfortunately for Nashville, it didn't happen. But luckily for Sporting KC, that pressure finally paid off. And again, Colorado was on road heave mode, and anytime when you go road heave mode and try to bunker in and just almost pray to try to hold on after suffering so much pressure, yeah, it doesn't work most of the time, and it didn't work here. As in the 73rd minute, Daniel Showery would tie the game up for Miller to make it 2-2 in this one, and then in the 75th minute, Mason Toy would score from Munoz to give the lead for Sporting KC again, and then 6 minutes later, Jovic would score his second. He scored from Bartlett to make it 4-2 in this one. The floodgates were completely blown open. I mean, it was a culmination of an epic meltdown by the Rapids in the last 7 minutes, and Sporting KC just you just kind of had a sense that with all the pressure that they generate, once they do find that equalizer, that third goal is not gonna be coming relatively long. It's gonna be coming soon, and they almost made it 5-2 when Ndembe almost did so, but the woodwork denied him there. So yeah, I mean, Sporting KC, they probably could have easily won this one by more goals, but either way, they still win this one 4-2 against the Rapids. The shots in this one, 20 shots compared to 16 that the Rapids had, 11 shots on goal compared to 8 that the Rapids had. There was 19 shots on goal for both of these teams. Yeah, it's safe to say that defense was not on top whatsoever in this one, and both goalkeeper definitely had to make to work. 4 shots off target with the 3 that the Rapids had, 3 shots off block with the 6 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession the Rapids has in this game. What a frustrating game this has to be for the Colorado Rapids, and this just kind of sums up the season in this game itself. They just kind of at times show two versions of themselves. You just never know what kind of that they will show. And while maybe this inconsistent form might be enough to get them into the playoffs, because right now the West, it feels like most teams are pretty inconsistent and unable to really run away in terms of making the playoffs. But unfortunately for the Rapids, I mean, even if they do make it to the playoffs, I really don't see them making a deep run, because whenever you see a team that is inconsistent and when they get themselves into the playoffs in that inconsistent form, yeah, that's not going to do it. More times are not. We might see the Rapids maybe perform well in one playoff game, but don't be surprised the next one they might lose, because, as I said, that's just been the story of the Rapids this season. They can show at one point they look like a dark horse team and can be a contender in the West, and then the very next game they'll do the complete 180 and just completely fall flat on their face. And this was pretty much an example of that, especially what we saw in the second half. But that being said, I am actually now going to switch the board manually, because why not? Let's get uh, us switch this board manually so we can finally talk about the last two games, and actually talk about the last game that happened on Saturday night, which is St. Louis and the Houston Dynamo. And I gotta say, man, oh man, we almost saw another game where a 3-0 lead was blown. I mean, as the old saying goes, the 2-0 lead is always the most dangerous lead. I feel like this season it's the 3-0 lead. I mean, there's been so many times this season we almost see 3-0 lead being blown, and at times we have seen 3-0 lead being blown this season. And man, this team very close to doing so. And for the Houston Dynamo, they are very lucky the fact that St. Louis left it very late for them to get themselves back into this game, because I think if this game would have gone another 10 or 15 minutes, St. Louis probably would have came back all the way from a 3-0 deficit. But in the first half and in the first 16 minutes as well, I mean, if you didn't watch the first 16 minutes of this game, you didn't miss too much. There was nothing that happened in the first 16 minutes. But on the first shot of the game, it's in the back of the net as Ezekiel Ponce, he scored from McGlynn to make it 1-0 in favor of the Dynamo. Yeah, Ponce needed that one badly. He's been really struggling this season, especially from open play as well. This is something I think Dynamo fans wish that could happen more often this season, but he did finally score or kind of break the duck a little bit. And yeah, just like that, Houston were up 1-0. McGlynn were looking for another, but he puts it wide before Artur missed wide from long range. And there was no doubt the momentum was with the Houston Dynamo. They were looking to try to get another, and this was kind of like the performance when you see a team that desperately need a win. I mean, coming into this game, this was virtually a must win for the Houston Dynamo if they want to keep themselves in the playoff race, and they definitely played it like that in the first 30 minutes. Klaus with St. Louis first shot, but he missed wide there before he missed wide again. This time on the doorstep of goal. Yeah, that is one that John Klaus will want to have back. He has definitely gone a little bit better as the season goes along, but yeah, those are kind of the moments that he would definitely wish he can have a redo. But St. Louis definitely have woke up, and now they were looking to try to get the equalizer. Ultra tried to do so, but he missed wide from the corner. But we do head to halftime with Houston leading 1-0. In the second half, they waste no time to make it 2-0, as unfortunately Kessler would put it into his own net to make it 2-0 in this one. But not much really happened in the second half either to start, and this is where you just kind of had a sense is that second goal really just kind of saved St. Louis, because just as you thought that they got themselves back in the game late in the first half, they scored an own goal like this that can really tank the 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 momentum and also the belief of the team, especially for a team that have lost a lot of games this season. And also in the 72nd minute, this also doesn't help. And actually before that, Ponce tried to score his second goal, but he hits it right to Berkey. But in the 72nd minute, Houston would make it 3-0, as Dwayne Holmes would score from Linga to score his first career MLS goal there to make it 3-0 in favor of Houston. Game's over, right? There shouldn't be any late drama in this game, right? Well, Klaus would then look to respond in the 76th minute, but he missed wide there before Joner would miss wide as the flag went up. The Dynamo definitely put their foot off the gas. Like St. Louis, they're gaining steam again, just like they did near the end of the first half, and now was pressing to try to get one back, and they do. As in the 86th minute, Leuven would score from Betcher to get one back for St. Louis, and then not long after, Joner would score his first career MLS goal from Durkin and Hardo. All of a sudden, it's 3-2 in this game, and all of a sudden, if you are a Dynamo fan, I mean, you're just thinking, oh my God, this is happening, isn't it? In a game where we play probably one of our better games that we played in recent memory, is this all gonna fall apart? And honestly, I feel like if this did fall apart for the Houston Dynamo, you can probably kind of almost stick a fork on them, because in a stretch run like this, especially with them kind of hanging on for their playoff hope, these are kind of the resort where if they were to blow this 3-0 lead, I don't think there's really any coming back from this, and especially in a mentality standpoint. And there's no doubt that I even wrote, the Houston Dynamo not only put their foot off the gas so early, but are they going to be the latest team to blow a 3-0 lead? And they almost did so. And the Post actually, they not only saved them in this game, but might have just saved their season, because it denied Joe Claus, who had a free header there. I mean, Joe Claus, just one of those nights for a number nine. We've seen this before, where number nine sometimes have one of those nights when nothing seems to fall for them. They're kind of getting blue ball in a game, and you got to feel bad for Joe Claus here. He did pretty well in this one, but just couldn't show his clinical finishing. But like I said, the woodwork basically saved the Dynamo season, because in the end, the Dynamo get a much needed win here to get themselves right back into the thick of the playoff race. They win 3-2 in this one. The shots in this one: 8 shots compared to 13 that St. Louis had, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that Houston had, 6 shots off target compared to 3 that the Dynamo has, 2 shots on block for the 1 that St. Louis had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Houston has in this one. It wasn't pretty by any means of necessary, but honestly, as we get into the stretch run, it really doesn't matter how pretty it is, or there's an almost a disastrous moment for the Houston Dynamo. They'll take any 3 points they can get to get themselves right into the thick of the playoff race. But for St. Louis, I mean, I think if you're St. Louis, as much as you'll be disappointed that you weren't able to come back from this game, they put up a heck of a fight late in this one as well, and kind of showed that no quit mentality, which is something you don't usually expect for a team that is already way out of playoff contention, or just counting down the days of them getting eliminated from the playoffs in general. Now, moving on into the last game, and this is the game that happened after the Leeds Cup final, pretty much a dessert in terms of just kind of the main event that we saw on Sunday with the Leeds Cup third place, the final, and also the debut of Sung Hyun Min as well. But San Diego was kind of the party pooper in this one, as is kind of been the case this season. I mean, I swear, San Diego this season, I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to see some devil magic with the San Diego team, because in this game, this game was very similar to the Nashville Atlanta games, where I feel like San Diego in some way kind of had no rights to win this one. LAFC pretty much dominate for most part of this game, but for whatever reason, LAFC kind of forgot to show their clinical finishing beyond the 16 minute. And it's not like the fact that LAFC were missing some chances. They were missing some chances that you just kind of almost just kind of stop looking at, or just kind of look at it, and you just stop thinking, how in the world did they miss that, especially with the quality that they had in this game. But in the first half, 9 minutes in, the first shot of the game did see Lloris deny Dwyer from close. Not much really happened, at least early in this one. You just kind of had a sense of a big game like this. Maybe there was a bit of a feeling out here as the shots were 1-0 15 minutes in. But then on the second shot of the game, Denis Bouanga would score. So he scored for Martinez to make it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. And up to this point, you're just thinking, well, looks like maybe San Diego, incredible run, might kind of come with a bit of a halt in this one because, as I said, San Diego, as much as of course they are still picking up points, they really hasn't played that well, at least in the last couple of games, and at times they've been. I mean, what I will give credit to them is that they have been a very, very clinical team when it comes to their finishing and punishing their opposition whenever they're giving to. But when it comes to chances that they give up, and also the defensive display that they've shown, it's been shaky at best, to a point where it feels like it's starting to become a little devil magic that we're starting to see with this team. Because after Bawanga looked to try to get another but missed wide there, as I thought San Diego continued to have no ish or no answer in terms of the direct ball that LAFC play. In the 33rd minute, completely against the run of play, Cookie Lozano would score from Dwyer to tie the game up at one apiece. So a guy that I kind of made talk about how he hasn't lived up to his bargain throughout the season. In the preview, you must have heard that because he took it personally and scored the equalizer there to tie the game up at one apiece. Segura looked to answer, but he missed wide from close before Smolyakov would miss wide in the 37th minute. Dos Santos would then deny Sung on the curler. The momentum was definitely back with LAFC. They were trying to press to try to get themselves the lead back. But we do head to halftime with this game tied up at one apiece. In the second half, Gerard had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. The game, I thought, started to become very, very open. And again, I'm not surprised that is the case, because when the goals were finally scoring, when the feeling out period is over, that's when this game is gonna be opening up. And the only thing that was kind of missing in terms of we see chances was neither of these teams were very good in the final third. That all changed in the 66th minute, because guess who? It's Andre Jars. He once again carried this team on his back, and another game to showcase why he might deserve the MVP this season. He scored for Verskov here to give San Diego a 2-1 lead. Chouanier did look to answer, but he missed one in the 68th minute before Segura would head it wide from close range. Good response once again for LAFC, as they were now trying to get the equalizer. And then here in the 74th minute, this is one of those kind of dumbfounded moments. So was in on go here, and most time when you see this happen, when Son gets himself in a good position, he would usually bury that time 10 out of 10. But here, I don't know what happened to him. I mean, he just kind of hesitate there, kind of waited too long. Maybe he was hoping he would show his unselfish play to get the assist. And then because of that, he got pickpocket, get the ball away. Now, obviously, the goal wouldn't have counted either way because the flag went up. But that was just kind of so unlike Song Hyun Min, a guy that has been just so good in those kind of position throughout his career, and I still think that he can still be that, even with him coming to LAFC. And this is kind of the moment you hope that he can thrive on. And yeah, I mean, it's just very unlike Son, and just kind of very unlike LAFC, especially where they go on the attack. And that won't be the only time where we see just kind of a very dumbfounded moment of you just thinking, how in the world did LAFC not score in that moment? But there was no doubt the San Diego, they're walking on a tightrope right now. They're again another team that's kind of going a little row heap mode, trying to survive this unrelentless pressure that LAFC was putting. And they got help from the post as well, as it denied Song on the curler. And then in the 82nd minute, this was another just kind of just dumbfounded the moment, as Bawanga was in on goal there. And again, just like Song, he kind of got caught in two minds. He didn't know what he needs to do, whether he's be selfish in terms of taking a shot or being unselfish. I feel like this is something that is a very underrated topic, but I feel like the one topic that every strikers need to know, and especially every attacking player needs to know, is that you simply cannot be caught in two minds when you're in an attacking position. You either, I mean, I get that you want to be unselfish and you want to set up your teammate, but sometimes you just got to be selfish. If you're given the chance to do so, you gotta pull the trigger and not afraid to do so. And here we seen Bawanga does this most of the time where he's in that position. He would always pull the trigger, and again, I just don't know why he didn't do so in this one. He just kind of completely got caught in two minds, and this is again where I might bring up in terms of the devil magic that San Diego has had, because in any other situation in any other game, I would say Bawanga put that one into the back of the net, but for whatever reason here he just kind of had a brain for a moment, and as a result, just never got the shot away, and you're just thinking, yep, is this going to be one of those nights for LAFC again? We've also seen this happen sometimes where no matter what they try going forward, they just can't get that kind of goal. Bawanga would then hits one right to Dos Santos before Shrinier would do the same thing in the 88th minute. The bus is basically firmly parked for San Diego. They were holding on for dear life, putting everyone behind the box. And it also doesn't help when they found out there was 9 minutes of stoppage time in this one. So yeah, more bus needs to be parked. In the second minute of stoppage time, Sung would hit it right to Dos Santos before he had a shot that took a deflection and goes wide. In the eighth minute of stoppage time, Jari did had a chance to end it, but he was denied by Larice. But the good news for San Diego, despite that missed chance, they somehow hold on to win 2-1 in this one. And, as much as I said that this is kind of maybe unsustainable, San Diego is making this sustainable with the way that we've seen this happen the last couple of games and throughout this season as well, where somehow in some way, when it's kind of that time where they need to hold on to trying to see out resort, more times than not they're able to do so. This is kind of the reason why they're first in the West, and this is also kind of the reason where, remember how I said that they need 59 points to break the record? I take that back. It's actually 57. That is the point total, and they're actually 1 point away to do so. So they can get a draw in the next game, they'll tie that record. A win basically will break that record. And as I said, it's not if San Diego is going to break that expansion record that was set by LAFC in terms of the points total. It really is when. This could be the first expansion team to ever get 60 plus point. And unlike St. Louis, where they kind of fade away down the stretch, San Diego hasn't really faded down the stretch either. Now, when it comes to the quality, that the way that they've been playing and the soccer that they've been playing, it's definitely not as pretty as what we see in the beginning of the season. And I still think that this team does still have a little bit of an issue when it comes to goal scoring as well. And once again, really heavily rely too much on Anders Dreyer. But at the same time, if they can see how games like this and have done it multiple times this season and have been able to be successful, this is a good recipe to have in the playoffs. Because in the playoffs, you're going to have these kind of moments, and the fact that they've been a master in terms of doing this, and also sprinkling a little devil magic, somehow forcing some of their best player on the opposition to have brain fart moments like what we've seen with LAFC a couple of times in this game. Yeah, this is definitely looking good for San Diego, and they might do an unthinkable thing of going in a deep run, and dare I say, they might repeat what we saw the Chicago Fire did back in '98, becoming being only potentially the second MLS team to win MLS Cup in their expansion season. The shots in this one, 17 shots for the six that San Diego has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 4 shots off target for the one that San Diego has. One shot that was blocked for the five that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that LAFC has in this game. What a frustrating night this was from LAFC. I mean, honestly, this between them and Nashville, I don't know which team is going to be more frustrated in terms of the resort, because again, they did most thing right in this one. They just couldn't put the ball into the back of that, and had moments that you just kind of left befuddled in terms of how in the world did they not put it into the back of the net. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for my review of these 5 games to finish off match week number 32. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these last 5 games that I review. Again, we're not going to have a full slate of MLS action for 2 weeks, but we do still have a couple of games that's going to be happening during the international break. Cue the groans from the fan base, and also the coaches that have to play during the international break. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.